Now, you mentioned educational process there, and it's always difficult for SEOs to show clients, okay, we want revenue. We want to help you guys with revenue, but we have to start
Yeah.
with crawlability, with your
Hmm.
site being crawlable,
Yes.
discoverable. And I saw your post on, I think it was Twitter or LinkedIn, one of them, around the metric chain, where you link.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
tell us some more about that, because I found that to be
Yeah.
fascinating.
So yeah. So the where that came about was essentially stakeholders in a project are only really interested at the what am I getting back? Like, okay, this is all really interesting, but how much money am I going to make, or how successful are we going to be? And that's fine and that's understandable. But as you've just pointed out, this is a journey, right? Like,
Mm,
how much money am I going to make? Well, nothing until Google's crawling your website. And then it's like, well, how can you tell the story between a technical sort of fundamental part that's really uninteresting to a board, which is how crawlable is my website?
mm,
How do we relate that to revenue? And it's the chain, the way that I've kind of factored that. I've just taken a lot of these metrics that are just metrics that all SEOs will use and be conscious of, but align it in the sense of, is this, the leftmost end of the spectrum is our technical metrics, and our rightmost is revenue or leads.
mm,
And and broadly what it's saying is that, this technical on crawl stats, what's my crawl rate? Or how often are my pages being visited by Googlebot, or anything kind of super technical. That does not directly correlate into revenue, but this is where the narrative comes in. If Google isn't crawling my pages frequently enough, I'm not going to be making revenue because they're not going to be displayed in search results. And we tell that story by we say, well,
mm.
how many impressions are they getting in Google Search Console? Well, an impression is good. An impression isn't a click, but you can't have clicks if you don't have impressions. So impressions will lead clicks, and clicks will lead visits, and visits will lead conversions, which lead revenue. And it's taking someone along that process and just helping them understand the relationship between each stage. And more for the consultant or whoever's delivering the report is, well, who am I talking to, and what part of this chain do they need to be exposed to
Yeah.
fundamentally?
Hmm.
If it's C-suite and you're talking about a year-end report, well, broadly, what's my return on investment? So what's my revenue that Organic Sources has generated? And then details of, well, they'll always say, well, what have you done to get there? So it's okay, well, what do I need to show them out of that mix? What do I need to lift out of some of those metrics just to tell that story? We saw that your pages weren't getting crawled. We made them crawlable. Skip to the end generates more revenue. And it's and it's kind of being very selective and very intentional about the metrics you display.
Mm.
And this is me talking to a 5 years younger version of myself. Is I'm really interested in this stuff. Well, we both are. This is what we do, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else really is, like broadly. Like SEOs might be, but in the wider world, no one really cares. And as excited as you are about all of this stuff and happy as you are with it, get to the point, like in the nicest possible sense. And again, I'm telling myself this because I've had that feedback before, and it's kind of like, what do we need for that? But the chain just helps people understand that progress along it. And more to the point, you get midway through, say you're at a quarterly review and you haven't seen an uptick in revenue yet because, I don't know, your changes got implemented 6 weeks late. But you can show that Google has started crawling the site more and that
Mm.
impressions have started to creep up. Well, they're leading indicators. They
Yeah.
might not be success, but they're signs that it is working. And they're really, really important that if you don't have tangible results yet, you've got to be flying the flag for these leading indicators that are starting to show.
Mm.
Because if you're not telling the story that success is coming, everyone's going to be like, well, it's not working.
Yeah.
Which, well, it isn't yet, but it doesn't work until it starts working. Until that keyword is breached top half of page one, you don't really have something to write home about. So it's
Mm.
just kind of understanding, firstly, that all of these metrics interconnect, that most people don't care about most of them, but this is a narrative, that you're framing. It's not it's not a science paper. It's
Mm.
what's important to that person and how do you tell them about it? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I mean, I tend to write posts like that aimed at me. Like, what did I need? What advice did I need 5, 6 years ago? Well, to be fair, what could I sometimes do with refreshing myself with even now? But
I think it's a brilliant value to the industry because it allows us SEOs to tell the story and not be tell it in an interesting way. Because when you show this link from crawlability all the way to revenue, all of a sudden non-SEO sees people in C-suite, they get it. They see it, and it's a fantastic metric that you put together, or chain of metrics that you've put together. I'll definitely link it in the post
Thank you.
for everyone to have a look at it because
Awesome.
I think it allows non-SEOs to understand SEO without having to face the daunting aspect of having to know SEO or learn SEO.